Unions and notable sex activists are targeting Saskatchewan parents in court, and they are using federal dollars to do it. A well-funded leftist mob comprised of the usual suspects, the NDP, the Saskatchewan Union of Public Employees, the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation, the Saskatchewan Federation of Labour, the Canadian Teachers Federation, and of course, radical LGBTQ plus groups, is taking the province to court over the Parents' Bill of Rights. Now, the Parents' Bill of Rights, or Bill 137, was passed in Saskatchewan last October. It requires students under the age of 16 to do the very reasonable thing of obtaining parental or guardian consent for school staff to use the pupil's new gender-related preferred name or gender identity.
We believe that every child's journey should be a shared one, with parents at the forefront of every decision. The Parental Bill of Rights is an inclusionary policy that ensures parents have a voice in their child's education, their well-being, and their future. And we understand there are significant challenges that young people face today. And we know that parents play a crucial role in helping their children grow and develop. Our government believes that the default position should never be about keeping important decisions from parents. There are supports available to children in our schools, as well as in our communities around the province, that will allow children, parents, and school staff to work collaboratively through difficult decisions and conversations. I would encourage all parents to get involved in their child's education. Together, we are creating an environment where parents have a voice in shaping our next generation while building strong families.
Now, the YWCA's Fae Johnstone, predictably, has entered the legal fray. Johnstone's organization, Queer Momentum, is joining forces with CUPE against Scott Moe's popular legislation. The legislation itself required the use of the constitutional firewall of the notwithstanding clause to prevent it from being overturned.
As those rights that were included under the Charter were being discussed, there was other rights that were identified as well that were not included under the Charter. And it was also identified that at some point in the future there could be the collision of these Charter protected rights and other rights that are important to Saskatchewan residents and to Canadian residents as well. And when those rights collide, the notwithstanding clause was provided to ensure that the elected government of the day would be able to make the decision on as to which of those rights would be in effect for the people that they ultimately represent. And in this case, that's the rights of a parent to ensure they're involved in their children's decision, bring our parents closer to our children's classroom.
Recent polling shows 63% of Canadians want Saskatchewan to resist the pressure of socialist activists, childless marms, and total weirdos to prevent the sexualization of children in the classroom and the fostering of secrecy between teachers and students apart from parents. But the notwithstanding clause has not deterred the radical left from thinking they should have unprecedented access to indoctrinate other people's kids. They are so enthralled at the prospect of sexual secrets with unrelated minors that they are suing to have more, as reported in Sask Today on the axis of evil between Johnstone and the public sector unions against parents. This partnership continues a long history of solidarity between labor and queer social justice movements as we work together to build a more free, equal, and socially just future, said Johnstone, as Premier Scott Moe targets transgender students and their families to distract from his failure to deliver for Saskatchewan families, to fix decaying schools, or build an economy that works for everyone. Queer activists and labor movements are working together to fight for the Saskatchewan we all deserve. CUPE Saskatchewan President Kent Peterson said the partnership is the first in Canada and crucial to the province's 2 LGBTQI plus community and workers. Mobilizing voters against hate-based policies such as Scott Moe's Bill 137 and his abuse of the notwithstanding clause to suspend the rights of children will be a top priority for our new organizer, said Peterson. Johnstone is more recently notable for being the keynote speaker at last year's Saskatchewan YWCA Women of Distinction Awards and, of course, drawing international mockery to Hershey's after the chocolate company included the biological male activist in its Women's Day campaign. But who is paying for all of this? Well, you are, at least in part. Johnstone's previous organization, Wisdom to Action, received well over $1 million in federal funding from 2021 to 2024 for, quote, advocacy. And again, on April 16th, 2024, the federal budget included $12 million for queer advocacy. Guess who's taking credit for that? Fae Johnstone's Queer Momentum. And with their portion of that nationwide funding, right now at nearly $400,000, Queer Momentum is hiring a Saskatchewan organizer to assist the unions and on-the-ground sexual activists in undermining parents and the government acting on behalf of parents, and, of course, indoctrinating kids behind the backs of people who love them the most. For $30 an hour, 1 day a week, you too can collaborate with the Saskatchewan Progressive Labour and allied organizations to build a united response to Scott Moe and the Saskatchewan Party. But hang tight before you apply, because preference will be given to trans and gender diverse individuals. Black, Indigenous, and racialized queer and trans community members are encouraged to apply. But if the money dried up, so too would the activism, but it won't, because Trudeau is funding the attacks on his most powerful enemies. He's attacking parents and Western premiers who are enshrining parents' rights in legislation. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To stand up against these radical sex activists in the classroom and to show support for the provinces who are doing the right thing, sign our petition. Please go to stopclassroomgrooming.com.